People will say, people will say that the um quote unquote hip hop purists are bad for culture.
Yeah.
Because they don't want to quote unquote let go, if you will. But I don't know if it's necessarily a bad thing to, want to preserve the foundation, but still being able to, understand the evolution and appreciate the evolution and watch it evolve, if that makes sense. Like
for me, the culture, it's the fact that it's a culture,
mm-hmm.
and the things that are practiced within that culture, skills should be highly
emphasized.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good word for it. Yeah, highly emphasized. And that seems like at times, especially when you look into some more of the commercial realms, that hasn't been the case over the years. It's kind of gone down,
Tell you what.
However, in the non-commercial realms, there's still plenty of, skill and shit you can hear. You know what I mean? Where it's valued, man. You know what I mean? There's whole formulas people can take. Where you don't have to be good at rapping.
Yeah.
You do not have to be good at rapping to make the most money rapping.
Nah.
You know what I mean?
And I've learned over time that, the skill argument it's been out the window. And from a standpoint of music has evolved because there is no more craft. Like now it's numeric. It's a numbers game. Get the most views, you get the most fans, you do the TikToks, you gone. Like there is no assessment. You know what I mean? Like I had to accept that. I just have to understand that, that's the culture that we're in now. You can only
you don't have to be good at it. Can you imagine? I mean, like, can you imagine? I mean, I just like not being like a shortstop in baseball who just let grounders go through his fucking legs all the time, but he made $150 million.
But
you know what I mean?
Long as everybody liked you in the crowd, you good though.
I think what we're talking about. I think what we're talking about specifically, though, right here is sound as well, though, right?
Okay.
And the one thing that we've seen kind of change in the last handful of years, decade or so, is how much the vibe and the feel of a song matters a lot more than kind of
the lyrics.
Well, not necessarily the lyrics, but like the depth of the lyrics. There's a lot more of an emphasis on like, how does this make me feel? And that might be part of the culture switch that we're seeing. The mainstream lyricals
has a lot to do with that too. There's been a lot of changes in production. There's a ton of really good producers out there that you don't really need to be a good rapper to be on some of these cats.
For sure.
You know what I mean? I really feel that way.
So it's about a vibe. A lot of times. And I think that is one of the shifts that we have seen, especially in mainstream. But I mean, also in non-mainstream stuff, it's a lot of the younger cats are kind of more so on that. Even the dudes that I really like that are a little bit younger, or maybe appeal to a younger crowd. Like if I think of like a Mick Jenkins or a Saba, I'm huge fans of both of them. But they have, even though I think they're both great lyricists, their music is defined by how it makes you feel. And it's just like a very specific type of feeling too.
I mean, you can look at it from
Interesting.
You can look at it from a production standpoint, like and Lone will be able to attest to this as well. Like sometimes when you have people that reach out to you or they'll shoot you an email or submissions or what are you looking for, what sounds you're looking for, it's not about send me something that I can rap about this on. It's I need you to send me something that's wavy, that's a vibe. That's it. Like that's what the description will be. I need something that's wavy. I need something that's a vibe. Like they'll stop there. Like that's where we are now. There is no, I need this joint where I can talk about, I need you to send me a beat where I can talk about, I don't know, I lost my job or some shit like that. I'm not trying to be extra. I'm just giving you examples. I need a beat where you can send me a joint where I'm in the trap. That doesn't happen anymore. It's a vibe or it's a wave. Like that's
and I think
we are.
And not to go too deep into the psychology behind it, but at the same time, I feel like a lot of that is because of where we are in stance of a culture of just humanity. because we're in a place and time where technology is in our face all the time. We have social media in our face all the time. Sometimes we just don't want to talk. You know, even if I have stuff I want to share, it's just like, let me get this feeling out if I'm an artist, but I don't feel like writing all these things down because I don't want to add to the noise, or maybe it's just too much. I don't know. I feel like that whole shift has kind of changed a little bit. And I think the technology has a lot to do with it, ironically, or maybe not ironically, but
yeah.
It's an interesting way that it's kind of moved.
Well, you know, I saw Chris Rock say something one time where he said, whatever music comes out when you're around the time you're graduating high school, or when you first start, you know, you get your driver's license, that's going to be the best music in the world to you for the rest of your life. You know, and so, you know, once again, not ashamed to share my age. I graduated in 1995. 1995, it was, you know, it was Raekwon, Mobb Deep, Nas, Busta Rhymes, you know, Snoop and Dre was still popping. So to me, it's hard to beat. You know, I hear this new music in you know, in my mind, it's hard to beat that music. But once again, you know, say you graduate in 87, 88, and you're there when Rakim, Big Daddy Kane, you know, EPMD, Cash Money and Marvelous, Kid and Play, Oaktown 357. You know what I'm saying? It was what was popping wherever you were, whenever you were having the best time of your life, when you might have first started drinking and smoking, or when you first fell in love, or when you first got your first car, or when you graduated from high school. A lot of music marks time.
It does.
And so I don't want to ever get into an argument with people about what isn't and what is not hip hop. Like, there's somebody out there who really thinks that Young Thug is the top of, and it's not for me to judge them, because Young Thug is their music. You know,
like they believe
that
they believe that he's the epitome of what rap music and hip hop is, and that's okay. There's people that love,
but if you spent your first money on a Young Thug concert, or you fell in love when Young Thug was out for the first time, then that's going to be the music that means something more to you than it, you know. And I try to tell you, is like, yo, sit down and listen to Only Built for Cuban Links. Like, that doesn't have the same, you know, connection with you than it does. So I'm never one to say, okay, you young bucks don't know about hip hop, just based on the fact that I don't like it or it's not my vibe, because there's somebody who's only 5 years older than me who probably was like, man, what is this Wu-Tang shit? What is this? Why y'all gotta curse so much? Like, it doesn't have to be that large of a gap for people to misunderstand or feel like this isn't my music. So
you know what's crazy though? You know what's crazy though? You think about that. You think about the generational gaps. Like, there are certain generations where, to your point, like, we talk about time and timestamps of what music meant and when it was most important, and that's going to always stick with you. I get that, but you know, I think a lot of times you're labeled. If you can look someone in the eye and say, you know what, I just use the Baby as an example, right? So if you say, you know what, the Baby ain't for me, I get it. That's just not my era. I see what y'all doing. Keep doing your thing. Like, in 2020, you're labeled as a hater because you're doing that. You're an old head. You old. You outdated. I think that's a part of the culture that I don't like. I don't have to like it. It doesn't mean that I'm hating on the entire culture or saying that everything is whack. It's just certain things are not for me. There are joints from Young Thug that I like. There's joints from the Baby that I like. Lil Baby that I like. Like, there are records that I can go pick out. I'm like, yo, this is fire. I like the vibe. I like the wave. It's cool. But, you know, if 21 Savage drop an album and I'm like, nah, this ain't it, the initial reaction is you hating because you old. We got to stop that shit, man. Like, nobody is, you know, casting aspersions on hip hop. It's just, this shit not good to me, and it's cool. It's not for me. Y'all do what y'all do, to each his own.
If you've enjoyed this segment of the New Old Heads podcast, make sure to join our live show every Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern at twitch.tv/bringingdowntheband, and join our private Discord community with talks on hip-hop, music, news, and everything else.